Whenever you like to chase. Why? That's all number one. Why do you like to chase?
What's up, y'all? It's your girl Lauren with Do Your Work, and today I'm coming to you live with another YouTube video. Today we're going to be talking about 6 tips for healthy dating. This is something that is super personal to me, and I'm excited to be able to share my tips with you guys. So the first tip that I have is happiness starts from within. So 2018, 2019, 2020, disclaimer, it was a struggle, okay? And I remember being in the club. I was a single friend. I was always a single friend. I was a single friend, I was a single aunt, the single sister, the single daughter, and I was really struggling in my identity of singleness, of singlehood. And I remember being in the club in 2018, and I had on this tight dress. It's Labor Day weekend, my feet hurting, and my friends, they didn't have to be there because, you know, at the end of the day, they had their partners. And I just remember feeling like I had to be there because I wanted to meet that person. And I just started crying, and I ran to the bathroom and I started crying. And I'm like, why am I here? Why am I here? And I kept thinking, like, if I could have the love, if I could be chosen, if I could just have one person see me, if I could just have one person see me. And I was crying. And so ironically enough, fast forward a couple weeks, I did enter into a very loving connection where loving behaviors were displayed to me on a continuous basis. And I was still very unhappy. And so I realized, wow, I have to love the unhappiness that I'm experiencing and navigating actually ain't got shit to do with whether I am in my relationship status. And so when I realized that, and I was like, man, I really have work to do. I really have to get to the bottom of my own emptiness. I have to get to the bottom of my own emptiness because it has nothing to do with my singlehood. And when I had that realization, I was like, I got work to do. So tip number 2 is knowing your worth. So like I said, 2018, 2019, 2020, struggle. So I remember being in therapy, and my therapist says, you know, you desire to be in companionship, in a committed relationship with someone else. What do you feel like you bring to the table? What makes you worthy of the love that you're seeking? And I was like, hold on. If you're gonna be asking me questions like that, you gotta assign some pre-work or something, because I ain't ready. She was like, come on, Lauren, stop being goofy. I was like, okay. And I was like, well, I'm cute. And she was like, what else? And I was like, I'm smart. And she was like, what else? And I was like, that's all I got. And she was like, Lauren, you struggle with worthiness. And that stung. And so for 40 days, when I realized that I had an issue with self-esteem and self-worth and really understanding the value that I add to the people around me, for 40 days, I picked a wall in my room and I started like putting one thing that's true about me. So I'm pretty, I'm a loving and supportive person. I am creative. I am connected to God. You know, and so I start saying all this stuff about myself for 40 days, and then my wall is completely full. And I realized how truly disconnected that I was from my truth. And so when you're dating, when you're navigating dating connections, you really have to understand your truth. You have to know your worth. Because if you date from a place of being completely disconnected from your truth and being unworthy, then you choose people that see you as such. And when I realized that, I'm like, oh, I chased, you know, we were talking about the chase earlier. I liked the chase because it affirmed my sense of unworthiness. So, know your worth. Tip number 3, go with the flow. So my sister Tania, she used to tell me all the time, you single because you don't know how to go with the flow. And I'm like, no, let me tell you, I'm single because people be trying to have me flow to a stream of never ending BS. A stream of never ending BS. And I was joking with my friend about this one time, and my friend provided the wise counsel. She was like, are you going with your flow, or are you going to the flow of someone else? And I was like, oh, and I had to realize that one, I have been existing in flows that weren't compatible to what I desired. And so really being able to gut check myself, is this the right connection? And is this aligned with the flow that I want to experience? And then really being able to surrender control and be detached to a particular outcome. I feel like a lot of times when we meet this amazing person, we're like, you cute, you smart, you're popular, you got money. I gotta make this work. And the more that you chase, the more that they run. The more that you're met with resistance, but the more that you exist in a very unattached way, the more likely you are to experience relational success. So really being able to go with the flow and surrender control. Tip number 4 is checking for alignment. So if you've done the internal work, you're like, hey, listen, I've unplugged for about 10 years. You new to this journey? I've been on this journey, okay, love? I've done the internal work. I know how to spend my time. I'm not always in a club. I actually have hobbies, and I have goals, and I have passions and things that I'm pursuing, and I have healthy relationships and connections around me. Now it's time to start checking for alignment as you're dating. Are you checking for alignment? And if you're really doing the internal work, then you ain't even really gonna have to check. But checking for alignment, making sure that the people that you're in connection with are the most aligned people for this particular season of your life. So there's a couple of questions I ask myself when I'm checking for alignment. And question number 1 is, does this person see you? So much shit could be avoided if we dated people that see us. But what happens is that, going back to tip number 1, we date from a place of unworthiness, and we choose people that can't see us because we can't see ourselves. So when you're checking for alignment, does this person see me? And if this person doesn't see me, next, does this person desire your company? So sometimes you have that like IG follower that's like, oh yeah, I like her, or I like him. But they don't desire your company. They don't choose to exist in your space. And it could be something completely unrelated to you. Maybe they got baby mama or daddy issues. Maybe they're unhealed themselves. Maybe they don't have the funds that they, would prefer to have before they enter connection. Either way it goes, if they're not desiring to do life with you and to collect experiences with you, that's probably not the most aligned connection, and you move that on over to the side. This third question that I ask myself when I'm checking for alignment is, does this person show you that they value you with their actions? And I'm a Gemini. I love words. So you could, y'all don't do this, but you can run game on me, because I get so caught up in the wordplay. And really, when I'm coming back to my center and I'm coming back to my truth and I'm really checking for alignment, I'm like, so what you doing? When higher self comes in, what are you doing? How are you displaying? How are you showing me with your behaviors that you choose me? And if they're not showing you with their behaviors, then they're not an aligned connection. Is this person consistent? I was reading this book where this young lady, she was like, when you're dating from a place of femininity, that masculine energy will always be making its way to you. Like, the only thing that you have to do is be you and be positioned, be seated in a place of receiving. Be seated in a place of receiving. And the masculine energy, the most aligned masculine energy, it's gonna be making its way towards you. So is this person consistent? Do you feel their energy consistently coming towards you? And if the answer is no, Either you not dating from a place of femininity and you're attracting a feminine partner because you're in your masculine, or there's just isn't an aligned connection and you move that on over to the side. Does this person know what they want? I think sometimes we confuse the ability for someone to see your worth or see your value with the abilities for someone to act on your value. And I'm gonna say that again because I kind of messed it up. We confuse someone's ability to see you with someone's ability to act on you. To act on you. Can this person choose you? Do they have the emotional, the spiritual, the financial capacity to choose you? And if they can't choose you, even if they can see you, that's not your person. That's not the most aligned connection. And is this person emotionally available? Are you emotionally available? Are there other ties that you have emotionally? And if there are, deal with those for you and your partner. And hopefully you'll be able to come into alignment with the person that's for you. So those are questions that I ask myself when I'm checking for alignment. Tip number 5 is knowing my triggers. So I'm currently dating someone and I was triggered. My partner said something to me. I acted a little crazy, not too crazy, but just Gemini crazy, And so I texted my friends and I was like, hey, what are my triggers? Instead of texting me back, they're like, you do this and you do that. And I'm like, dang. And so my partner experienced a heightened emotional reaction because in that moment, I wasn't able to take a couple of deep breaths and say, hey, listen, that was a trigger for me. And here's why. So being able to really know your triggers and being able to articulate your triggers so you can avoid conflict and furthermore, or to add on to that, avoid constant, continued conflict with your partner. So really being able to know your triggers. And then the 6th tip that I have for you guys is doing your work. A lot of times we don't do our work. We don't do the internal work, the energetic work, the spiritual work it takes for us to be in community and to be in a loving connection. And then we're like, I'm always single. You in a club crying because you're single, but you don't do your work. And so I wanted to just gather a couple of examples of how you can actually do your work as you're navigating dating connections and experiences. So you can understand your relational patterns, write down all of the partners that you've dated and the traumas that you've experienced. Are there any synchronicities in the partners that you're dating? And why are you choosing those people? Working on codependency. Are you in a codependent connection? Do you need a partner to satisfy your happiness? Inner child wounds. Do you got daddy issues? Do you have mama issues? Because those unresolved parental issues seeps over into how you exist in dating and love. So, do you know your attachment style? Are you able to practice forgiveness? Have you released past pains? Are you one of those people like, all men ain't, all women ain't, or have you released those pains energetically? Or do those pains make home in your space? Becoming who you want to date. You out here trying to date a 6-figure guy, this amazing woman, but you're not who you're trying to date. So start there. Become who you're trying to date. Are you anxious? Have you experienced a lot of rejection and now you're constantly anxious? Does this person like me? Did I respond how do you take that anxiety and you rechannel it into something else? Do you have low self-esteem? Are you establishing boundaries that are reflective of your value? Do you have realistic expectations of others? These are all things that you could be doing to do your work and to better position yourself for healthier and more happier and more whole and full and lively dating experiences. So that's all I have for you today, guys. I'm gonna drop my Instagram down below. And I'm so glad that you guys watched this video, and I hope to continue to share more tips like this for you guys.